That night in Seoul, Kaylin Rhodes walked into the city's most exclusive hotel, believing she was saving her fiancé's dying company. She didn't know he'd already sold her for $2 million. The investor's eyes stripped her bare before the door even locked. Her fiancé vanished. Escape became impossible. Then a stranger kicked through the penthouse entrance like death itself. Jae-min Kwon, Seoul's most feared crime lord. He shot her buyer in the kneecap without blinking. "You're safe now," he said coldly. But safety with a monster came with a price. Become his contracted wife or disappear forever. Like and comment what city you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. The rain hit Seoul like bullets that October night, turning the streets into rivers of neon and violence. Kaylin Rhodes pressed her forehead against the car window and watched the city blur past, trying to ignore the knot tightening in her stomach. Something felt wrong. Had felt wrong for weeks now, if she was honest with herself. "You look beautiful," Daniel said from the driver's seat. Her fiancé, the man she'd planned to marry in 4 months. She glanced down at the midnight blue dress he'd picked out. Too tight, too revealing. Nothing like what she'd normally wear to a business dinner. "Are you sure about this meeting? You've been so vague about who this investor actually is." Daniel's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "Victor Huang. He's big in tech and real estate. This could save everything, Kay. The company, our future, all of it." "Then why do you look terrified?" "I'm not terrified. I'm nervous. There's a difference." He pulled up to the Lotte Grand, where valets in crisp uniforms materialized like ghosts through the rain. "Just be charming tonight. Smile, make conversation. He's old-fashioned, likes when women are warm and engaging." The knot pulled tighter. "What the hell does that mean?" "It means don't be difficult." Daniel's voice sharpened. "Please, Kaylin. I'm drowning here. The startup is hemorrhaging money. Creditors are threatening lawsuits. This is our last shot." She studied his face in the dashboard light. Shadows pooled under his eyes. His jawline had gone sharp with stress, cheekbones prominent from skipped meals and sleepless nights. She'd watched him unravel over the past 6 months, watched his dream of building the next big app crumble into debt and desperation. And she'd stayed because she loved him, because she believed in him. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll be charming." Relief washed over his features. He leaned across the console and kissed her forehead. "Thank you. I love you so much." The words should have felt warm. Instead, they landed cold against her skin. Inside the hotel, luxury swallowed them whole. Marble floors stretched endlessly beneath crystal chandeliers that cost more than Kaylin's childhood home. Wealthy guests glided past wearing watches worth 6 figures, trailing perfume that probably cost more per ounce than gasoline. Daniel's hand trembled against her lower back as they rode the elevator to the penthouse level. "You're shaking," Kaylin whispered. "I'm fine." "Daniel," I said, "I'm fine." The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Penthouse suite, end of the hall. They walked down a corridor lined with abstract art that looked like someone had vomited color onto canvas and called it genius. At the last door, Daniel hesitated. His finger hovered over the doorbell. "Whatever happens in there," he said slowly, "just remember, I did this for us." Before Kaylin could process that strange statement, he pressed the button. The door opened immediately. A man in his late 50s stood there, perfectly tailored suit, silver threading through his black hair. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Daniel," the man said smoothly. "Right on time. And you must be Kaylin." His gaze traveled down her body like hands she didn't want touching her. Slow, assessing, hungry. "Mr. Huang," she managed, extending her hand. He took it, holding on longer than necessary. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. "Victor, please, come in. I have dinner waiting." The penthouse suite was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline. The dining table could have seated 12 but was set for 3, candles flickering between plates of untouched food. A bottle of wine, probably worth more than Daniel's car, sat breathing beside crystal glasses. "Impressive view," Daniel said, his voice too bright. Performative. "I find height gives perspective." Victor gestured to the table. "Please, sit, eat. We have much to discuss." Kaylin sat across from Victor while Daniel took the head of the table between them. Wrong. The seating arrangement felt wrong. Business dinners didn't work like this. The two men should be sitting together, not positioning her as the focal point. Victor poured wine with practiced ease. So, Kaylin, Daniel tells me you work in marketing. Social media marketing for a boutique agency. She tried to smile. Nothing as exciting as tech investment. Don't sell yourself short. Understanding how to capture attention, how to make people want something, that's valuable. He raised his glass. To new partnerships. Daniel nearly lunged for his wine. Kaylin sipped hers cautiously, tasting something bitter beneath the expensive vintage. The conversation started normally enough. Victor asked about her work, her interests, her background. But his questions carried weight they shouldn't have. Where was she from originally? Did she have family in Seoul? Who knew she was here tonight? Daniel contributed less and less, drinking more and more. Sweat beaded at his temples despite the air conditioning. You seem tense, Daniel, Victor observed, just eager to discuss business. All in good time. Victor's attention swung back to Kaylin like a spotlight. Tell me, what attracted you to Daniel? What made you say yes when he proposed? The question crossed a line. I don't see how that's relevant to your investment. Humor me. Daniel's foot pressed against hers under the table. A warning. She swallowed her irritation. He was kind, ambitious. He made me laugh. Past tense? Excuse me? You said was and made, not is and makes. Victor leaned back in his chair, studying her like a painting he was considering purchasing. Relationships lose their shine, don't they? The man you fell in love with becomes someone else, someone desperate, someone willing to do things you never imagined. Kaylin's pulse kicked up. I think maybe we should talk about the investment now. We are talking about the investment. Victor's smile turned predatory. Daniel needs $2 million to save his company. I'm willing to provide it, but I require collateral. We can offer equity in the company. Daniel started. I'm not interested in equity. Victor's gaze never left Kaylin. I'm interested in something more tangible. The room tilted. Kaylin gripped the edge of the table, trying to anchor herself as understanding crashed through her in waves of nausea and disbelief. What the hell is he talking about, Daniel? Her fiancé wouldn't meet her eyes, just stared at his wineglass, jaw clenched, breathing shallow. Daniel, her voice sharpened. Look at me. He looked up, and what she saw in his face shattered something fundamental inside her chest. Guilt, shame, but also resignation. Decision. Like he'd already made a choice and was just waiting for her to catch up to the nightmare. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Victor set down his wine glass with a soft click. The terms are simple, Kaylin. You spend tonight with me. In exchange, Daniel receives $2 million, his debts disappear, and his company survives. Everyone wins. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. This was Seoul, not some trafficking ring in a third-world country. This was a five-star hotel, not a back-alley deal. Men didn't just sell their fiancés like property, except apparently they did. You're insane, Kaylin said slowly, standing up. Both of you are absolutely insane if you think, sit down. Victor's voice dropped 20 degrees. Go to hell. She turned toward the door, made it 3 steps before 2 men emerged from a side room she hadn't noticed. Bodyguards, massive, expressionless, blocking her exit. I said sit down. Kaylin spun back to face Victor, heart hammering against her ribs. You can't keep me here. This is kidnapping, trafficking. I'll scream. The walls are soundproofed. The staff is paid to ignore disturbances. And your fiancé, Victor gestured casually at Daniel, who'd gone pale as bone, has already signed the contract. Contract? The word came out broken. Victor pulled his phone from his pocket, tapped a few times, then turned the screen toward her. Messages. Between him and Daniel. Weeks of them. Negotiations. Terms. Details about her that made her skin crawl. Her measurements, her background. Her sexual history as Daniel understood it. And at the bottom, a final message from Daniel sent 3 hours ago. She'll be there. 8 p.m. The blue dress like you requested. Kaylin's legs gave out. She collapsed back into the chair, staring at the man she'd planned to marry. The man she'd trusted with her future, her body, her heart. Why? She whispered. Daniel finally looked at her, really looked at her. And what she saw was worse than the betrayal. It was calculation. Cold, desperate math that had added up her worth in dollars and found it acceptable. I built that company from nothing, he said, voice shaking. 4 years of my life. Everything I have is tied up in it. If it fails, I lose everything. So you decided to sell me? It's one night, Kaylin, just one night. And then we're free. We can get married, buy a house, start our life together. You think I'm marrying you after this? Her voice cracked. You think I'm ever letting you touch me again? You're upset. I understand. But once you've had time to think rationally. She grabbed her wine glass and hurled it at his head. He ducked. Crystal exploded against the wall, red wine bleeding down the expensive wallpaper like arterial spray. You sold me! The scream tore out of her throat. You sold me like I'm fucking property! The bodyguards moved toward her. Victor held up a hand, stopping them. Such fire, he said, sounding pleased. I was worried Daniel had exaggerated, but no, you're exactly as advertised. Kaylin looked at the door, at the bodyguards, at Victor's calm, expectant face, at Daniel, who'd hunched into himself like a guilty child. She was trapped, truly, completely trapped. I won't make this easy for you, she said quietly, every word edged with poison. Whatever you're planning, I'll fight. I'll make you work for every second. Victor stood, adjusting his cufflinks. I was hoping you'd say that. Daniel, you can leave now. The money will transfer once I'm satisfied with the merchandise. Daniel stood on shaking legs. He reached for Kaylin's hand. She jerked away like he was diseased. Don't touch me. Don't ever fucking touch me again. Kaylin, please, get out. The words ripped from somewhere primal. Get out before I kill you myself. He backed toward the door, tears streaming down his face. I love you. I did this because I love you. You did this because you're a coward, and I will never forgive you. The door closed behind him with a soft click. The lock engaged automatically, and Kaylin was alone with the monster who'd bought her. Victor circled the table slowly, each step deliberate. Now that the unpleasantness is over, we can begin. I've rented this suite for the entire night. I thought we'd start with... Kaylin grabbed the wine bottle by the neck, smashed it against the table edge, and lunged at him with the broken glass. She was fast, but his bodyguards were faster, arms like steel cables wrapped around her from behind, lifting her off the ground. She thrashed, kicked, the broken bottle cutting her palm as someone wrenched it from her grip. Blood dripped onto the marble floor. Spirited, Victor observed, unmoved. I appreciate passion, but there are limits to what I'll tolerate. One of the bodyguards forced her into a chair, holding her shoulders down while she struggled. Victor approached, reaching for her face. She tried to bite him. He pulled back, laughing. This is going to be memorable, he said. Then the windows exploded. Not shattered, exploded. Like a bomb had gone off in reverse, glass blasting inward in a hurricane of glittering shards and cold night air. Wind and rain howled into the penthouse. The candles blew out. Dark figures dropped through the broken windows on repelling lines, moving with military precision. Gunfire erupted. The bodyguard holding Kaylin collapsed, blood blooming across his chest. The second bodyguard pulled a weapon but took 3 shots to the center mass before he could fire. Victor dove behind the overturned table. Kaylin hit the floor, covering her head as bullets punched through furniture and walls. The suite filled with smoke and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Shouts in Korean. Footsteps. More gunfire. Then silence. Someone grabbed her arm. She screamed, lashing out with her bleeding hand. Stop! The voice was male, cold, absolute. You're safe now. Kaylin looked up through the smoke and chaos at the man kneeling beside her. He was young, early 30s maybe. Black tactical gear, not a hair out of place despite dropping through a window like an action movie character. His face was sharp angles and cold control, handsome in the way weapons are handsome, designed for a specific, lethal purpose. But his eyes were what stopped her breath. Dark, calculating. and fixed on her with an intensity that felt like being seen for the first time in her life. "Who are you?" she managed. "Jaemin Kwan." The name meant nothing to her. Should it have? Behind them, Victor groaned from behind the table. Jaemin stood in one fluid motion, drawing a handgun from his hip. He walked over to where Victor was trying to crawl toward the door and shot him in the kneecap. Victor's scream echoed off the walls. "That's for touching what isn't yours," Jaemin said quietly. Then he looked at his men who'd secured the room. "Clean this up. Remove the bodies. Make sure hotel security stays bought." "Yes, sir." Jaemin returned to Kaylin, extending his hand. She stared at it, this blood-stained offering from a stranger who'd just killed 3 men without blinking. "You can stay here with him," Jaemin said, "or you can come with me. Choose quickly." Behind her, Victor whimpered in agony. The room reeked of blood and cordite. Through the shattered windows, Seoul glittered indifferently, millions of people living their lives while hers had just been torn apart and reassembled by violence. Kaylin took his hand. His grip was firm, warm despite everything. He pulled her to her feet with surprising gentleness, then immediately stripped off his tactical jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. It smelled like gunpowder and expensive cologne. "Can you walk?" "I think so." "Good. We're leaving now. Stay close to me." He led her through the destroyed penthouse, stepping over bodies without looking down. His men moved with the same eerie efficiency, already wrapping corpses in plastic sheeting like this was routine. Maybe for them, it was. In the hallway, hotel staff were conspicuously absent. The elevator waited with doors open, empty and gleaming. "What about the police?" Kaylin asked as they descended. Someone must have heard, "The police work for me." The flatness in his voice told her it wasn't a boast, just a fact. She stared at him, trying to process what that meant. "Who are you really?" Jaemin looked at her, and for just a moment something flickered in those cold eyes. Not warmth, exactly, but recognition. Like he'd found something he'd been searching for without realizing he was looking. "Someone who won't let anyone hurt you again," he said. The elevator opened to an underground garage where a convoy of black SUVs waited, engines running. Men in suits materialized, forming a protective wall around them. Jaemin guided her into the middle vehicle, sliding in beside her. The door closed. The world outside became distant, muffled. Kaylin started shaking, not from cold, though she was freezing in the ruined dress, from shock, from the delayed terror of what had almost happened, from the realization that her fiancé had sold her and some stranger had bought her freedom with violence. "Breathe," Jaemin said. Not gently, a command. "Focus on breathing." She tried, dragged air into her lungs, released it, again, again. "The man who brought you there," Jaemin continued, "Daniel Park. He owes money to several dangerous people. Victor Huang was one of them. This wasn't the first time he's traded women for debt forgiveness, but it will be the last." "You're going to kill him." Not a question. "Would you prefer I didn't?" Kaylin thought about Daniel's face when he'd looked at those messages. The calculation, the willingness to destroy her to save himself. "I don't know what I want anymore," she whispered. "That's normal. Your world just ended. It takes time to build a new one." The SUV climbed through Seoul's nighttime streets, heading into the hills where the city's wealthy kept their fortresses. Kaylin watched the lights blur past, feeling disconnected from her own body. "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere safe. My home." "And then?" Jaemin turned to look at her fully. In the passing streetlights, his face alternated between shadow and illumination, revelation and concealment. "And then we talk about what happens next. But tonight, you rest, heal. Tomorrow, the world can start making sense again." The convoy pulled through a gate that looked designed to withstand a siege. Beyond it, a compound stretched across the hillside, modern architecture flowing seamlessly into landscaped grounds, walls and security that whispered of serious money and serious danger. They stopped in front of the main building. Jaemin exited first, scanning the area with military precision before gesturing for her to follow. Inside, minimalist luxury, clean lines, expensive art, windows overlooking the city they'd just fled. A woman in her 50s appeared, professional and kind-faced. "This is Mrs. Shin," Jaemin said. She'll take you upstairs, show you the guest suite. There's a bathroom, clean clothes, whatever you need. What about you? I have work to finish tonight. People to deal with, questions to answer about what happened at that hotel. He paused, studying her. You're safe here. I give you my word. Why should I trust your word? Because I'm the only reason you're still standing. It was true. Brutal, but true. Mrs. Shin touched Kaylin's shoulder gently. Come, dear. Let's get you cleaned up. Kaylin let herself be led upstairs, too exhausted to argue. The guest suite was larger than her apartment. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting area, all decorated in soothing neutrals. Mrs. Shin started a bath, laid out pajamas, placed water and food on the nightstand. Mr. Kwan said to tell you the door doesn't lock from the outside, she said softly. Only from the inside. You're not a prisoner here. What am I then? I think that's something you and Mr. Kwan will need to figure out together. Mrs. Shin smiled sadly. Rest now. Everything else can wait. Alone, finally, Kaylin sank onto the bed and let the tears come. Huge, racking sobs that shook her entire body. She cried for the life she'd thought she had, for the man she'd thought she knew, for the future that had been stolen along with her trust. But underneath the grief, something else stirred. Rage. Pure, crystalline fury at what had been done to her, at Daniel's betrayal, at Victor's entitlement, at every man who thought women were commodities to be traded. She would survive this. She would become stronger. She would make sure no one ever held power over her again. In the bathroom, she stared at her reflection. Ruined makeup, torn dress, blood still drying on her palm where the bottle had cut her. But her eyes were clear. She washed away the night, watching the water turn pink with someone else's blood, changed into the soft pajamas. Crawled into bed as Seoul's lights twinkled beyond the windows like fallen stars. Her last thought before exhaustion claimed her was of Jaemin's face when he'd pulled the trigger. No hesitation, no mercy, just cold, absolute protection. And somewhere in the darkness before sleep, Kaylin realized she'd just traded one dangerous man for another. Kaylin woke to sunlight burning through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee she hadn't made. For 3 blissful seconds, she didn't remember. Then it all crashed back. The hotel, Daniel's betrayal, Victor's hands reaching for her, the gunfire, Jaemin's cold eyes as he pulled the trigger. She sat up too fast. The room spun. Her palm throbbed where the broken bottle had sliced it. Now bandaged in clean white gauze, she didn't remember anyone applying. Someone had been in the room while she slept. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, she felt nothing, hollow. Like all her fear had burned out overnight, leaving only ash. She found clothes laid out on the chair, designer labels, her exact size, black silk blouse, tailored pants, underwear still in packaging. Either Mrs. Shin was psychic or Jaemin had access to information he shouldn't have. Probably both. The bathroom mirror showed a stranger. Bruises darkening on her upper arms where the bodyguard had grabbed her. Mascara smudged beneath eyes that looked 10 years older than yesterday. She washed her face with water so hot it hurt, scrubbing until her skin turned raw. Downstairs, the house was quiet, in that expensive way where silence itself costs money. Her footsteps on the marble floor sounded like gunshots. She followed the coffee smell through hallways lined with modern art that probably cost more than most people's homes. The kitchen was enormous, all white stone and stainless steel. Mrs. Shin stood at the counter, arranging fruit on a plate with the precision of a surgeon. Good morning, dear. Did you sleep? I don't know. Maybe. Kaylin's voice came out scratched, damaged. Where's Jaemin? Mr. Kwan is in his office. He's been awake all night handling the situation. Mrs. Shin poured coffee into a delicate cup, added cream without asking how Kaylin took it, and somehow got it exactly right. Sit. Eat something. You need strength. I need answers. Answers come after food. It wasn't a suggestion. Kaylin sat. Mrs. Shin placed the coffee and fruit in front of her, then added toast, eggs, and what looked like homemade jam. The kindness felt aggressive. Why are you being nice to me? Kaylin asked. Mrs. Shin's expression softened. Because Mr. Kwan told me what happened, and because I've worked for him for 12 years, and I've never seen him bring a woman to this house. Not once. Whatever you are to him, it matters. I'm nothing to him. He's a stranger. Strangers don't declare war over people they don't know. Before Kaylin could process that statement, footsteps approached. Jamin entered the kitchen and she barely recognized him from last night. No tactical gear now, just a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, white shirt open at the collar, hair styled with careless precision. He looked like he should be on the cover of a business magazine, not orchestrating violence. Their eyes met. Something electric crackled in the air between them. "You're awake," he said. Statement, not question. What did Mrs. Shin mean about declaring war? Eat first, then we talk. I want to talk now. Jamin poured himself coffee, movements controlled and deliberate. Victor Huang is in a private hospital under guard. He'll survive, unfortunately. Daniel Park is missing. Ran the moment he left that hotel. And Seoul's Underground is very interested in why I shot a major investor and destroyed a 5-star penthouse suite. Kaylin's stomach twisted. Because of me. Because of what he tried to do to you. There's a difference. I don't understand why you care. You don't know me. Jamin set down his cup, turned to face her fully, and for the first time she saw something human flicker across his features. Not warmth, exactly. More like recognition. Pain, maybe. Old wounds reopening. 3 years ago, he said quietly, someone I cared about was trafficked, sold by someone she trusted. By the time I found her, it was too late. She'd already... He stopped, swallowed. I was too late. I swore I'd never let it happen again if I had the power to stop it. The kitchen went silent except for the hum of expensive appliances. I'm sorry, Kaylin whispered. Don't be sorry, be smart. Because the men I killed last night worked for people who'll want answers. Victor Huang has connections to organized crime throughout Asia, and Daniel Park is currently running scared, which makes him dangerous. Desperate men do stupid things. What are you saying? I'm saying you can't go back to your life. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Jamin's gaze was steady, unflinching. Your apartment isn't safe. Your workplace isn't safe. Anyone who knows you is potentially compromised. Victor's people will come looking for explanations, and when they find you, they'll use you to get to me. The toast turned to sawdust in Kaylin's mouth. So what? I'm just supposed to hide here forever? No. You're supposed to let me protect you while I dismantle the infrastructure that allowed last night to happen. He pulled out his phone, tapped something, then showed her the screen. This is a contract. Read it. Kaylin took the phone with shaking hands. Legal language filled the display, dense and incomprehensible. But certain phrases jumped out. Marriage agreement, duration of 2 years, financial compensation, mutual protection clause, termination conditions. You want me to marry you? Her voice climbed an octave. Are you insane? Probably. But it's the fastest way to establish legal protection and make it clear to every criminal organization in Seoul that you're untouchable. My wife is untouchable. Anyone who harms her dies. It's a simple equation. There's nothing simple about this. Jamin took the phone back. You're right. It's complicated, messy, dangerous. But it's also the difference between you having a future and you disappearing into the same hell that swallowed the woman I couldn't save. So yes, I'm asking you to marry me. Not because I love you. I don't know you. But because I have the resources to keep you alive, and I will not stand by and watch another woman get destroyed by men who think they can buy people. Kaylin stood up so fast her chair scraped across the marble. This is crazy. All of this is insane. Yesterday I was engaged to someone I thought I knew. Today you're asking me to sign a contract to marry a complete stranger who kills people for a living. I don't kill people for a living. I run legitimate businesses, shipping, real estate, technology investments. But yes, I also control a significant portion of Seoul's underground economy. And yes, sometimes violence is necessary to maintain order. If that makes you uncomfortable, the door is behind you. Leave, walk away, see how long you last. The words landed like slaps. Because he was right. She had nowhere to go, no one to trust. Daniel had made sure of that when he'd sold her like merchandise. I need time to think, she said. You have 24 hours. After that, Victor's people will start asking questions I can't answer if you're not under my protection. And if I say no, Jamin's expression didn't change. Then I'll give you money, documents, a new identity, and a plane ticket to anywhere in the world. You'll spend the rest of your life running. It's survivable. Lonely, but survivable. He left the kitchen without another word. Mrs. Shin busied herself at the sink, giving Kaylin space to process. He means what he says, the older woman said after a moment. About protection, about keeping you safe. Mr. Kwan doesn't make empty promises. He also kills people. Yes, he does. Mrs. Shin turned, drying her hands on a towel. But he's never killed anyone who didn't deserve it. And in a world where women are still bought and sold like property, sometimes monsters are necessary to fight other monsters. Kaylin wanted to argue, wanted to reject the twisted logic, but she remembered Victor's hands reaching for her, Daniel's calculating eyes, the lock clicking shut. Can I see the house? She asked. I need to walk, clear my head. Of course, I'll show you around. The compound was massive, gardens that probably required a full-time staff, a gym with equipment that looked military grade, a library with first editions behind glass. Everything screamed wealth and power and control. They ended up on a terrace overlooking Seoul. From here, the city looked peaceful. Beautiful even. But Kaylin knew better now, understood the darkness beneath the glittering surface. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. She'd forgotten she still had it. 17 missed calls from Daniel. 32 text messages. She opened them against her better judgment. Kaylin, please answer. I'm so sorry I didn't know he would hurt you. Please let me explain I love you. We can still fix this. Where are you? Please, baby, please. The last message had come through 10 minutes ago. They're looking for me. Victor's people. I think they're going to kill me. This is all your fault. If you'd just done what you were supposed to. Kaylin stopped reading, turned off the phone, stood there on the terrace with Seoul spread below her like a game board, and felt something shift inside her chest. Daniel was blaming her for his choices, for his cowardice, for the consequences of selling his fiancé to a predator. And in that moment, something hardened in her that would never soften again. She found Jaemin in his office, surrounded by computer monitors displaying security feeds, financial data, and what looked like surveillance photos of various people. He glanced up when she entered. That was fast, he said. Show me the contract again. He pulled it up on his laptop, turned the screen toward her. This time she read carefully. The terms were clear, almost clinical. 2 years of marriage. She would live in his home, attend social functions as his wife, maintain the appearance of a legitimate relationship. In exchange, she'd receive financial compensation, legal protection, and complete freedom to pursue her own career and interests. After 2 years, they could divorce quietly with a settlement that would set her up for life. No mention of sex, no requirement for physical intimacy, just a business arrangement dressed up in wedding clothes. If I agree, Kaylin said slowly, I want conditions. Name them. I want access to self-defense training, real training. I never want to feel helpless again. Done. I want to know everything about your business. If I'm going to be connected to it, I need to understand what I'm part of. Also acceptable, within reason. And I want you to find Daniel. Jaemin's expression sharpened. To kill him? No, to make him answer for what he did. Not with death, with consequences he has to live with. Something almost like respect flickered across Jaemin's features. I can arrange that. Then I'll do it. I'll marry you. You're sure? Kaylin thought about running, about hiding, about spending the rest of her life looking over her shoulder, waiting for Daniel's buyers to find her. I'm sure. Jaemin stood, extended his hand. Then we have a deal. She shook it. His grip was firm, warm, and for just a moment his thumb brushed across her knuckles in a gesture that felt almost protective. One more thing, she said. No lies between us. If this is going to work, we have to be honest. About everything. Agreed. Then tell me the real reason you're doing this, because I don't believe it's just about the woman you couldn't save. Jaemin held her gaze for a long moment. Behind his eyes, she saw calculations running, walls being reinforced, decisions being made about how much truth to reveal. I need a wife for political reasons, he finally said. The Kwan Syndicate is facing pressure from rivals who see my unmarried status as weakness. They believe I'm too isolated, too cold, impossible to predict or control. A wife humanizes me, makes me seem stable, less likely to burn everything down on impulse. So I'm a prop. Your protection, for both of us. I protect you from physical harm. You protect me from political vulnerability. Symbiotic relationship. It was honest, at least. Brutal, but honest. When? Kaylin asked. The wedding? 3 days. Small ceremony, just enough witnesses to make it legal in public. Then we announce it to Seoul's elite. Make it clear you're mine. He caught himself. That you're protected under my name. 3 days isn't much time. No. But waiting longer gives Victor's people more time to make moves against us. Fast and decisive is safer. Kaylin nodded, feeling like she was signing away her life. Which, in a way, she was. Okay, 3 days. I'll marry a stranger to survive. That's what my life has become. Not just to survive, Jamin said quietly. To rebuild. This isn't an ending, Kaylin. It's a foundation. What you build on top of it is entirely up to you. The next 3 days blurred together in a whirlwind of preparations that felt both surreal and terrifyingly real. Mrs. Shin took her shopping for a wedding dress, though shopping was a generous term for what amounted to designers bringing their entire collections to Jaemin's house. Kaylin chose something simple. White silk, elegant lines, nothing too traditional or too modern. A dress that said, "This is business," without saying, "This is fake." At night, she lay awake in the guest suite, listening to the house settle around her. Sometimes she heard Jaemin moving through the halls, conducting business on the phone in Korean, too rapid for her limited vocabulary to follow. Once she got up to use the bathroom and found him on the terrace at 3 a.m., smoking a cigarette and staring at the city like he was memorizing it. He'd glanced at her, nodded once, returned to his vigil. They were two strangers about to bind their lives together, and neither of them had any idea what they were really doing. The morning of the wedding, Kaylin woke before dawn. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Mrs. Shin fussed over her like a mother hen, while a makeup artist transformed her face into a mask of serenity she didn't feel. "You look beautiful," Mrs. Shin said, tears in her eyes. "I look terrified." "That too, but mostly beautiful." The ceremony took place in a private room at one of Seoul's oldest hotels. Ironic, considering where this nightmare had started. But this hotel was different, traditional, respectful. No penthouse suites where women got sold. 20 witnesses, mostly Jaemin's business associates and their wives. Cold faces, calculating eyes. People who understood exactly what this marriage meant and why it was happening. Jaemin stood at the front in a black suit that probably cost more than a car. He looked calm, controlled. Every inch the powerful man who ran an empire from the shadows. Their eyes met as she walked down the aisle, and for just a second she saw something human flicker across his features. Not love, not even attraction necessarily, but recognition. Two people trapped by circumstances neither had chosen, making the best of a situation neither wanted. The officiant spoke in Korean. Kaylin had practiced her vows phonetically, hoping she wasn't accidentally promising her firstborn or something equally binding. Jaemin's vows were steady, measured, delivered without hesitation. They exchanged rings, simple platinum bands that felt heavy as shackles. "You may kiss the bride." Jaemin leaned in. His hand came up to cup her face, gentle despite everything. Their lips met in a kiss that was supposed to be performative, meaningless. But something sparked. Just for a moment his mouth lingered on hers, warm, real, human. Then he pulled back and the professional mask slammed down again. "Congratulations," the officiant said. Applause from the witnesses, polite and restrained. Kaylin was now Mrs. Kwan, wife to a crime lord, protected and trapped in equal measure. The reception was small, just dinner with the witnesses. Expensive food Kaylin couldn't taste, wine that burned down her throat. Conversations in Korean she couldn't follow, though she caught her new name repeated often. Kwan Kaylin, Kwan Buin, Mrs. Kwan. An older man approached their table, face lined with authority. He spoke to Jaemin in rapid Korean, then turned to Kaylin with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He says, "Welcome to the family," Jaemin translated. "He's Park Min-ho, one of my father's oldest associates. He's curious about you." "Tell him I'm curious about him too," Jaemin translated. Min-ho laughed, said something else. "He says you have fire." "Good. My family needs fire." The conversation continued around her. Korean flowing like water. Kaylin smiled when appropriate, nodded at the right moments, played the role of the gracious bride. But inside, she was screaming. Later, in the car heading back to the house, she finally let the mask slip. "I can't do this," she said quietly. "The smiling, the pretending, the not understanding what anyone is saying about me." "You'll learn," Jaemin said. "I can't learn a language in 3 days." "No, but you can learn enough to understand when people are talking about you. I'll arrange lessons, daily, intensive." "What else do I need to learn? How to be a proper Mafia wife?" He glanced at her, and something like amusement touched his features. "You need to learn how to survive in a world where everyone wants something from you, how to smile while calculating, how to be warm while staying cold inside, how to make people underestimate you so when you move against them, they never see it coming." "You make it sound like war, because it is. Social war, political war, economic war, and you just became one of the most valuable pieces on the board. Victor's people are watching. My rivals are watching. Everyone wants to know if you're weakness or strength. What if I'm neither? What if I'm just me? Then you'll die, or worse." He said it matter-of-factly, like discussing the weather. "But I don't think you're just you. I think you're stronger than you know. You survived last week. You'll survive this." The car pulled through the compound gates. Home now, supposedly, though it still felt like a museum, beautiful and untouchable. Inside, Mrs. Shin had prepared a late dinner neither of them wanted. They sat across from each other at the massive dining table, picking at food, avoiding eye contact. "I moved your things into the master suite," Mrs. Shin said carefully. "Given that you're married now, it seemed appropriate." Kaylin's stomach dropped. "We're sharing a room?" "For appearances," Jaemin said. "The staff talks. If we're in separate rooms from the beginning, it raises questions about the legitimacy of the marriage. But the suite has multiple rooms. You can have your own space." "How generous." "I'm not asking you to sleep with me, Kaylin. I'm asking you to help maintain an illusion that keeps you alive." She wanted to argue, wanted to fight. But he was right, and she hated that he was right. After dinner, she followed him upstairs to the master suite. It was enormous. Bedroom, sitting area, 2 bathrooms, walk-in closets the size of her old apartment. Her clothes had been unpacked and hung beside his, intimate in their proximity. "You take the bed," Jaemin said. "I'll sleep in the sitting room." "That's ridiculous. The couch isn't big enough for you." "I've slept in worse places." "Jaemin, this isn't a negotiation." He grabbed a pillow and blanket from the closet. "The bed is yours. End of discussion." He disappeared into the sitting room before she could argue further. Kaylin stood alone in the enormous bedroom, wedding dress still on, feeling more isolated than she had in her entire life. She changed into pajamas, washed off the makeup, stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. The platinum band on her finger caught the light, undeniable proof this wasn't a nightmare she could wake up from. She was married, to a stranger, to a criminal, to the only person standing between her and annihilation. In the sitting room, she could hear Jaemin moving around. Phone calls in low Korean, the scratch of pen on paper. The man never stopped working, never stopped calculating, never stopped building walls between himself and the world. Kaylin climbed into the massive bed, surrounded by silk sheets and the faint scent of his cologne embedded in the fabric. Outside the windows, Seoul glittered like broken glass. She'd just closed her eyes when her phone vibrated. Another message from Daniel. "I know what you did." "Married him? The man who destroyed Victor? You're a whore who chose a monster. They're going to kill me because of you. I hope you're happy. I hope he destroys you like he destroys everything." Kaylin blocked the number. Should have done it days ago. Then she got up, padded into the sitting room where Jaemin was working at a desk with his laptop open and papers scattered everywhere. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "Daniel keeps messaging me, blaming me for everything." Now Jaemin looked up and his expression went cold. "Show me." She handed him the phone. He read the messages, jaw tightening with each word. "I'll handle this," he said quietly. "What does that mean?" "It means he won't contact you again." "Jaemin, don't. I'm not going to kill him. I gave you my word, but he needs to understand there are consequences for harassment, for threatening my wife." The possessiveness in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Not fear, Something else. Something dangerous. Why do you care? She asked. It's just texts. Just a coward lashing out. Jamin set down the phone, stood, closed the distance between them until they were almost touching. This close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried, the loneliness he wore like armor. Because you're mine now, he said softly. Not in the way Daniel thinks, not as property, but mine to protect, mine to defend, and anyone who hurts you answers to me. That's what this marriage means. That's the only thing that matters. Her breath caught. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you fought back in that hotel with a broken bottle. I know you didn't fall apart when your world ended. I know you agreed to marry a stranger because it was the smart move, not because you were afraid. That's more than enough. They stood there in the dim light, two people bound by contract and circumstances, and something shifted between them. Not love, not even trust, really, but understanding, recognition of shared damage, shared determination to survive. Thank you, Kaylin whispered, for saving me, for all of this. Don't thank me yet. This life comes with costs you haven't seen yet. Show me then. Stop protecting me from the truth and show me what I've really signed up for. Jamin studied her face, searching for something. You sure you want that? I'm sure I need it. If I'm going to survive in your world, I need to understand it completely. No more illusions, no more sheltering. Show me everything. Something like respect flickered across his features. All right, tomorrow morning, I'll take you to where I really work. Not the legitimate businesses, the heart of the Quan Syndicate. You'll see what I do, who I am, and then you can decide if you still want to stay. I'm not going anywhere. We'll see. He returned to his desk. Kaylin went back to bed, but neither of them slept much that night, both aware that tomorrow everything would change again, because Kaylin had asked to see the truth, and Jamin was going to show her exactly what it meant to be married to a monster. The next morning, Kaylin woke to find Jamin already dressed in black tactical gear, similar to what he'd worn the night he'd saved her. He stood at the window, watching the sunrise paint Seoul in shades of gold and blood. Get dressed, he said without turning. Wear something you don't mind ruining. We're going underground. 20 minutes later, they descended into a parking garage beneath the compound that kept going down, down, down until Kaylin lost count of the levels. Finally, they reached a sub-basement where armored vehicles waited like sleeping tanks. Men materialized from the shadows, Jamin's real security, not the polite bodyguards who stood around during business meetings. These men looked military, hard, dangerous. They drove through Seoul's streets as the city woke up, then turned into an industrial district where warehouses stretched for blocks. One looked abandoned from the outside, windows broken, graffiti covering the walls. Inside was a fortress, steel doors, armed guards, security systems that probably cost millions. They descended into another sub-level, this one carved from raw rock and reinforced with concrete. Welcome to the real Quan Empire, Jamin said. The underground complex sprawled like a small city. Computer servers hummed in climate-controlled rooms. Surveillance feeds showed hundreds of locations throughout Seoul. Men and women worked at desks, orchestrating operations Kaylin couldn't begin to understand. Jamin led her through it all, explaining each section. This is where we monitor our shipping operations, legitimate and otherwise. Container ships arriving from Southeast Asia, cargo that goes through customs, cargo that doesn't. Drugs? She asked. Sometimes, though I'm trying to phase that out. Too much violence, too much instability. Weapons are cleaner. Information is cleanest of all. You sell information? Everyone has secrets, politicians, businessmen, crime families. I collect secrets, protect them for people who pay, reveal them when necessary. Knowledge is more valuable than any physical commodity. He showed her rooms full of cash, millions of dollars in multiple currencies, gold bars stacked like building blocks, diamonds in unmarked boxes, the physical wealth that backed his digital empire. Then he took her deeper, the interrogation rooms. This is where we bring people who've broken agreements, Jamin said, standing outside a steel door with a small window, where debts get settled, where traitors confess. Through the window, Kaylin could see bloodstains on the concrete floor, restraints bolted to the walls, tools she didn't want to identify hanging from hooks. Her stomach churned. Have you killed people in there? She asked. Yes. No hesitation, no justification, just truth. Does it bother you? Sometimes. Not as much as it should. He looked at her. This is who I am, Kaylin. This is the man you married. I'm not a hero. I'm not even particularly good. I'm a necessary evil in a world full of worse evils. If that's too much, tell me now. I'll arrange your exit. Kaylin looked through the window at the room where people died. Thought about the suite upstairs with its silk sheets and city views. About the contract she'd signed. About Daniel's betrayal and Victor's predatory smile. Show me more, she said. Jamin's eyebrows rose fractionally. More? You said you'd show me everything, so show me. I want to understand exactly what I'm part of. They spent the next 3 hours touring his empire, meeting his lieutenants, cold-eyed men, and a few women who ran various operations, watching surveillance feeds of deals going down, money changing hands, enforcement actions against people who'd stepped out of line. It was brutal, efficient, terrifyingly organized. And Kaylin realized something that should have scared her but didn't. She wasn't repulsed. She was fascinated. This was power, real power, not the illusion of control her old life had offered, where she'd pretended everything was fine while slowly drowning. This was actual influence over the world, the ability to make things happen, to protect people, to destroy enemies. In one room, a man was being questioned about skimming money from Jamin's operations. He sobbed, begged, swore it wouldn't happen again. Should I believe him? Jamin asked Kaylin quietly. She studied the man, his body language, the desperate calculation in his eyes. No, she said. He's lying. He's already thinking about how to steal more carefully next time. Jamin smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. Good instincts. He made a gesture. Guards hauled the man away, still protesting. What will happen to him? Kaylin asked. He'll repay what he stole with interest. Then he'll work for free until the debt is settled. If he tries to run or steal again, he'll disappear. It's simple mathematics. Brutal mathematics. The only kind that works in this world. They returned to the surface as afternoon light slanted through the city. In the car, Kaylin processed everything she'd seen. The violence, the control, the vast machinery of crime and legitimate business grinding together. You're quiet, Jamin said. I'm thinking. About leaving? About staying? She turned to face him. I should be horrified, traumatized, desperate to escape, but I'm not. Does that make me broken? It makes you adaptable. The world down there, that's the real world. Everything else is pretense. You're just seeing clearly now. Or I've lost my mind. Maybe, but insanity is relative. Back at the house, exhaustion hit Kaylin like a physical blow. Mrs. Shin had dinner prepared, but she could barely eat. Her brain kept replaying images from the underground complex, the blood, the money, the cold efficiency of organized crime. That night she couldn't sleep. Kept tossing and turning, mind racing. Finally, she got up and went to the sitting room where Jae-min was, as always, working. Can't sleep? He asked. I keep thinking about that man, the one who stole from you. What if he has a family? Kids? He does. Wife and 2 children. And you're just going to destroy his life? Jamin set down his pen. He destroyed his own life when he chose to steal. Actions have consequences. If I let him walk away, everyone else will think they can steal too. The entire system collapses. So, yes, I'm going to destroy his life because it protects hundreds of other people who depend on me to maintain order. That's cold. That's reality. Kaylin sat down across from him. How do you live with it? The violence? The control? Doesn't it eat at you? Every day. He leaned back, and for once the mask slipped. She saw exhaustion, loneliness. I inherited this empire from my father. He built it from nothing, and he raised me to continue his work. But he also raised me to be cold, calculating, incapable of forming genuine connections because emotional attachment is weakness. And he was right. Attachment is weakness. It's why I've stayed alone all these years. Until now. Until now. He studied her face. You're supposed to be a political prop. Armor against my rivals. But you're becoming something else. What? I don't know yet. That's what scares me. The admission hung between them, raw and unexpected. "I'm scared too," Kaylin said. "Not of you, of how much sense this all makes. Your world, your rules. I should hate it, but I understand it, and that terrifies me." Jamin reached across the desk, and for the first time he touched her voluntarily, taking her hand in his. His grip was warm, solid, real. "Maybe we're both broken," he said. "Maybe that's why this works." Their eyes met, and something sparked again. That same electricity from their wedding kiss, only stronger now, more dangerous. Kaylin's breath caught. She should pull away, should go back to bed, should maintain the distance the contract specified. Instead, she leaned forward. So did he. Their lips met in the dim light of his office. And this kiss was nothing like the performative one at their wedding. This was raw, hungry, real. Jamin's hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing across her cheekbone. Kaylin's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. The desk between them became an obstacle they needed to eliminate. He stood, pulling her up with him. Their bodies pressed together. The kiss deepened, turned desperate. Weeks of tension and fear and adrenaline combusting into pure need. Then Jamin's phone rang. They broke apart, both breathing hard. He grabbed the phone, checked the screen, and his expression went cold. "What is it?" Kaylin asked. "Victor Huang just checked out of the hospital. He's gone. And my sources say he's putting together a team." "A team for what?" Jamin looked at her, and she saw something she'd never seen before in his eyes. Fear. For revenge. Against me. Against you. He's coming after us both. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "What do we do?" Kaylin whispered. "We prepare for war." Jamin grabbed his jacket. "And we hope we're strong enough to survive what's coming." Because somewhere in Seoul's nighttime streets, Victor Huang was planning their destruction. And this time, Jaemin might not be able to save her. The war room in Jaemin's underground complex came alive at 2 a.m. Computer screens glowed with surveillance feeds from across Seoul. His top lieutenants gathered around the central table where a digital map displayed red dots marking Victor Huang's known locations and associates. Kaylin stood beside Jamin, still wearing the clothes she'd kissed him in hours ago. The taste of him lingered on her lips, but there was no time to process what had happened between them. No time for anything except survival. "Victor checked out of the hospital at 9:47 p.m., reported Lee Jin-ho, Jaemin's head of security, a former military officer with scars running down the left side of his face. He had 8 men with him, private security, all armed. They went to ground in Gangnam district. "Which building?" Jaemin's voice was ice. "We don't know yet. He's using counter-surveillance protocols, switching vehicles, avoiding our cameras." "Then get better cameras." Jaemin leaned over the table, studying the map. "He's wounded, angry, desperate. That makes him unpredictable. What assets does he have left?" A woman named Park Seo-yoon stepped forward. Mid-40s, expensively dressed, eyes like a shark. She handled Jaemin's intelligence operations. "Victor's connections run deep. Cho Syndicate is his primary backing. They've wanted to move against you for months. This gives them the excuse. We're also seeing movement from the Busan faction. They're positioning resources near the city borders." "How many soldiers are we talking about?" "Combined? Maybe 200 trained operatives, plus another 300 street-level enforcers who'll work for whoever pays." Kaylin's stomach dropped. 200 trained killers. Against how many? As if reading her mind, Jin-ho said, "We have 85 combat-ready personnel in Seoul. Another 40 we can pull from Incheon within 6 hours." "Not enough," Jamin said flatly. "No, sir, not for a full assault." "Then we don't let it become a full assault. We cut the head off before the body mobilizes." He turned to Seo-yoon. "Find Victor. Use every asset we have. Bribes, threats, torture if necessary. I want his location within 24 hours. And if the Cho Syndicate retaliates, let them try. We've been preparing for this war for 3 years. Maybe it's time to finish it." The meeting continued for another hour. Tactical discussions, contingency plans, the cold mathematics of violence. Kaylin listened, absorbing everything, understanding more than she wanted to. This was chess played with human lives. Finally, Jaemin dismissed everyone except Jin-ho. "Double security on the house. No one gets within 2 blocks without identification. If Kaylin leaves the compound, she gets a 4-man escort minimum. I'm not a prisoner, Kaylin said. You're a target. There's a difference. Jinho nodded and left. Alone now, Jae-min rubbed his eyes, suddenly looking exhausted. Human. You should sleep, Kaylin said. Can't. Need to coordinate with our people in Busan. Make sure the southern routes stay open in case we need to evacuate. Evacuate? You think it could get that bad? I think Victor Huang is a wounded animal with powerful friends, and wounded animals are the most dangerous kind. He looked at her, something vulnerable flickering across his features. I meant what I said earlier. If you want out, tell me now. I can have you on a plane to anywhere in the world within 2 hours. We've been over this. I'm not running. You might have to. If things go wrong, then we'll deal with it together. She moved closer, close enough to touch. That kiss upstairs. Was it real or just adrenaline? Jaemin's jaw tightened. I don't know. Does it matter? It matters to me. He reached up, cupped her face with one hand. His thumb traced her cheekbone, the gesture achingly gentle from a man capable of such violence. Everything about you terrifies me, he said quietly, because I can't afford to care about anything. Caring creates vulnerabilities, and in my world, vulnerabilities get people killed. Maybe some things are worth the risk. Maybe. He leaned down, pressed his forehead against hers, just breathing together in the dim light of the war room. But I won't let him hurt you, whatever it takes, whatever I have to do. You're safe with me. Promise? I promise. The promise felt like an anchor, solid, real, something to hold on to while the world burned down around them. They went upstairs as dawn broke over Seoul. Kaylin showered, washing away the fear and exhaustion, trying to feel normal. But normal was gone. Normal had died in that hotel penthouse. She was someone else now, someone harder. Someone who stood in underground war rooms and discussed kill counts without flinching. Mrs. Shin had breakfast ready. Coffee so strong it could wake the dead. Toast Kaylin couldn't eat. Her stomach was twisted in knots, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped at 10:15 a.m. Jaemin's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went absolutely white. What? Kaylin asked. What is it? He hung up, stared at the phone. When he looked at her, his eyes held something she'd never seen before. Betrayal. They found Daniel, he said slowly. Where? In Victor's penthouse. The one we destroyed. Jaemin's voice was hollow. He's been there the whole time, working with Victor, feeding him information about our security, our operations, our weaknesses. The room tilted. Kaylin gripped the table edge, trying to process words that didn't make sense. That's impossible. Daniel is terrified of Victor. He's been texting me, begging for help. The texts were a diversion, making you think he was running scared while he was actually coordinating with your buyer. Jaemin pulled up something on his phone, turned it toward her. Security footage. Grainy, but clear enough. Daniel walking into a building, shaking hands with Victor Huang, sitting across from him at a conference table, laughing. The footage was time-stamped yesterday. While Kaylin had been touring Jaemin's underground empire, learning to survive in his world, Daniel had been plotting with the man who'd tried to rape her. I don't understand, she whispered. Why would he do this? Victor already paid him. The deal was done. Was it? Jaemin's voice cut like a blade. Think, Kaylin. Daniel sold you for $2 million, but he never got the money. I shot Victor before the transaction completed, so Daniel's company is still drowning. His debts are still unpaid, and the only way to collect is to help Victor get revenge. On both of us. The logic was airtight, brutal, and it made perfect, horrible sense. There's more, Jaemin continued. My intelligence officer just confirmed that Daniel has been working with Victor for over a month, since before that night at the hotel. A month? But that means, it means the whole thing was a setup from the beginning. Daniel didn't desperately sell you to save his company. He deliberately arranged your sale, planned to collect the money, and probably had arrangements to buy you back later for less. You were an asset he was flipping for profit. Kaylin couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The betrayal she'd thought she understood, desperate man making a terrible choice, had been so much worse, calculated, premeditated, evil. The texts, she managed, the ones where he blamed me. Manipulation. Keeping you off balance. Making sure you wouldn't suspect he'd gone to ground with Victor. Jamin's hand clenched into a fist. And I fell for it. Sent my people searching everywhere except the most obvious place. He played us both. What does this mean for the war? It means Daniel has been feeding Victor information about our defenses, our response protocols, everything he's observed since you moved into this house. Which means every plan we made last night is compromised. Victor knows we're looking for him, knows our troop strength, knows our weaknesses. The coffee cup slipped from Kaylin's hand, shattered on the marble floor. Brown liquid spread like blood. This is my fault, she said. I brought him here. Into your life, into your home. No. Baimin's voice was absolute. This is Daniel's fault, and Victor's, and mine for not seeing it sooner. What do we do? Jamin's phone rang again. He answered, listened, and his expression went from cold to arctic. Understood. Lock down everything. No one in or out without my direct authorization. He hung up. Looked at Kaylin with something like fear in his eyes. Victor just sent a message. He wants a meeting. A meeting? That's insane. It's obviously a trap. Obviously, but he has leverage now. Jamin pulled up an image on his phone. He kidnapped Mrs. Shin 2 hours ago, grabbed her on her way to the market, and he says if I don't meet him alone, he'll kill her. The world stopped. Mrs. Shin. Kind, maternal Mrs. Shin who'd welcomed Kaylin, protected her, made her feel almost safe in this nightmare. When? Kaylin's voice was dead. Tonight? Midnight. Same hotel where this started. Full circle. You can't go. It's suicide. If I don't go, he kills her. Then he moves on to other people close to me. My lieutenants, their families. He'll keep killing until I show up. Then send a team. Storm the place. He'll have hostages, security systems, explosives probably. If I send a team, Mrs. Shin dies before we breach the first door. Jamin set down his phone with careful control. This is what defeat looks like, when every option leads to death. There has to be another way. There isn't. Victor has us exactly where he wants us. Trapped, exposed, desperate. He laughed, bitter and broken. And the worst part? Daniel helped plan it. Your ex-fiancé is probably in that hotel right now, celebrating his genius. Kaylin felt something inside her crack. Not break, crack. Like glass under pressure, holding together but fundamentally damaged. I want to see him, she said quietly. What? Daniel. I want to see him, face to face. Kaylin, that's not dumb. I need to understand why. I need to hear him explain how he could do this. Not just the sale, all of it, the lies, the betrayal, the calculated destruction of everything we had. Her voice was shaking now, rage bleeding through the shock. I need to look him in the eyes and know what I fell in love with, what I trusted, what I almost married. Jaimin studied her face. If I arrange this, you might not like what you find. I already don't like any of this. But I need closure, real closure, not just unanswered questions eating me alive. All right, I'll see what I can do. He made a call, spoke rapid Korean, then hung up. My people have a source inside Victor's operation, low-level courier who's been feeding us intel. He can get a message to Daniel, offer a private meeting before the midnight deadline. Will Daniel agree? He'll be curious. Arrogant men always want to gloat. Jamin's eyes hardened. But I'm coming with you. Non-negotiable. I wouldn't expect anything else. The meeting was arranged for 8 p.m. at a neutral location, a closed restaurant in Itaewon that Jaimin's people had swept for surveillance and weapons. Empty. Clean. No witnesses except the 2 guards Jamin stationed outside. Kaylin wore black. Something about the color felt appropriate. Mourning for the person she'd been, for the trust she'd given, for the future she'd imagined. Daniel arrived exactly on time, flanked by 2 of Victor's bodyguards who waited by the door. He looked different, confident, well-dressed in an expensive suit Kaylin didn't recognize. Like success agreed with him. Kaylin, he smiled, and it made her want to vomit. You look good. Marriage to a crime lord suits you. Sit down. Jamin's voice was deadly quiet. Daniel sat, still smiling, still so fucking pleased with himself. I have to admit, he said, I didn't think you'd actually marry him. Thought you'd run, disappear. But you surprised me. You always were stronger than I gave you credit for. Why? Kaylin's voice cracked. Just tell me why. Why did I sell you? Come on, Kay, you're smarter than this. He leaned back casual, relaxed. My company was failing. I needed capital. You were an asset I could liquidate. Simple business decision. I was your fiancé. You were leverage. Pretty girl from a working class background, no family connections, no one who'd ask too many questions if you disappeared. Perfect merchandise. The words hit like physical blows. Kaylin's hands clenched into fists under the table. How long? She asked. How long were you planning this? From the beginning. The moment I met you, I saw potential. Not as a wife. I was never going to marry you, Kaylin, but as collateral. Someone I could use when I needed money. Took me 8 months to find the right buyer. Victor had a reputation for paying top dollar for specific types. And you, he gestured at her, were exactly his type. Jamin's hand moved toward his gun. Kaylin stopped him with a look. Keep talking, she said to Daniel. I want to hear everything. What's to hear? I built a relationship with you, made you trust me, love me. Then I used that trust to deliver you to a buyer. The only mistake I made was underestimating your crime lord's protective instincts. He glanced at Jamin. That was bad luck. But working with Victor to correct that mistake? That's good business. You helped plan his revenge, Kaylin said. Gave him information about Jamin's defenses. Of course. Victor promised me $4 million for my assistance. Double the original payment. Plus, watching Jamin Kwan fall is worth money can't buy. The great king of Seoul brought down because he got soft over a woman. Daniel's smile widened. Poetic, really. Mrs. Shin, Jamin said, his voice barely controlled. Where is she? Safe, for now. Victor's keeping her comfortable. She'll die painlessly if you cooperate tonight. Daniel leaned forward. But if you don't show up alone at midnight, she suffers. And after her, we start on other people you care about. Your lieutenants, their children. We'll work through your entire organization until Seoul runs red. You're describing terrorism. I'm describing consequences. You destroyed Victor's life, shot him, humiliated him in front of Seoul's elite. Men like him don't forgive. They annihilate. Daniel stood. So here's how tonight works. You show up at the hotel, alone, unarmed. You answer for what you did. And maybe, Victor lets some people live. And Kaylin? Jamin asked. Oh, she's the grand prize. Victor wants her back, wants to finish what he started, teach her what happens to women who fight back. Daniel looked at Kaylin with something almost like pity. You should have just let it happen that night. 1 hour of discomfort would have saved so much trouble. The rage that had been building inside Kaylin finally exploded. She lunged across the table, fingers reaching for Daniel's eyes. Jamin caught her, pulled her back, but not before she'd raked her nails across Daniel's cheek, drawing blood. You fucking monster! The scream tore from her throat. I loved you! I trusted you with everything! Daniel touched his bleeding cheek, then laughed. Actually laughed. And that's why it worked. You were so easy to manipulate, so desperate to believe someone cared about you. Your parents died when you were 18, left you with nothing. No siblings, no safety net. Just a lonely girl looking for someone to love her. He wiped the blood away casually. I gave you exactly what you needed, and you fell for every word. Get out! Jamin's voice was murder. Get out before I forget my promise to Kaylin and kill you right here. Daniel headed for the door, then paused. Midnight, Jamin. Don't be late. Mrs. Shin's counting on you. He left. The restaurant fell silent except for Kaylin's ragged breathing. She was shaking, crying, falling apart in Jamin's arms as the full weight of the betrayal finally crushed her. He never loved me, she sobbed. It was all a transaction. Every kiss, every promise, every moment I thought was real. I know. Jamin held her tight, and she could feel his heart hammering against her cheek. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. What do we do now? I don't know. The admission terrified her more than anything else. Jamin always had a plan, always knew the next move. But now he was lost too, trapped in a nightmare where every option led to death. They returned to the compound in silence. Security had tripled. Armed guards on every approach, surveillance drones circling overhead. the entire property locked down like a military installation. Inside, Jae-min's lieutenants waited in the living room. Jin-ho, Seo-yun, others whose names Kaylin didn't know, all of them looking grim. "We have a decision to make," Jin-ho said without preamble. "Boss goes to that meeting, he dies. Victor's not negotiating, he's executing. This is revenge, pure and simple." "Then we storm the hotel," said Seo-yun. "Full assault, hostage rescue protocols. Mrs. Shin dies, along with however many other civilians Victor's positioned as human shields. Acceptable losses." "She's not acceptable!" Jaemin's shout silenced the room. "Mrs. Shin has been with this family for 12 years. She's not a casualty statistic." "Then what's your order, sir?" Jin-ho asked quietly. Jaemin looked around the room, at his people, his soldiers, the men and women who'd sworn loyalty to him. Then his gaze landed on Kaylin, and something shifted in his expression. "I'm going to that meeting," he said, "but not alone." "Sir, Victor specified." "I know what he specified. I don't care." Jaemin pulled up a building schematic on the wall screen. The same hotel, the same penthouse suite where this nightmare had started. "We have 8 hours. Jin-ho, I want a full tactical plan. Every entrance, every exit, every vulnerability in that building. Seo-yun, coordinate with our police contacts. Make sure emergency services have delayed response times to that address." "You're planning to turn it into a war zone," Kaylin said. "I'm planning to survive, and to make sure Victor Huang never threatens anyone I care about again." He looked at her. "Which includes you. If you want to leave, if you want to be anywhere else when this goes down, I'm staying. I'm seeing this through. You could die. So could you. So could Mrs. Shin. So could everyone in this room." Kaylin stepped forward, addressing the entire group. "Daniel Park used me as bait. Victor Huang tried to buy me like property. And both of them think women are disposable. So I'm not running. I'm fighting. And I'm going to watch them both burn." Silence. Then Jin-ho smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "I like her," he said to Jaemin. "Your wife has fire." "She has survival instincts," Jaemin corrected, but his eyes held something like pride. "All right, we have 8 hours to prepare for war. Let's make them count." The compound transformed into a military staging area, weapons cleaned and loaded, tactical gear distributed, entry teams rehearsing assault protocols. Kaylin watched it all, this machinery of violence preparing to destroy her enemies. And somewhere deep inside, something fundamental changed. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was a weapon. At 11:30 p.m., Jaemin found her in their bedroom. She'd changed into dark tactical clothing Seo-yun had provided. No body armor, it would be too obvious, but clothing that allowed movement, running, fighting. "You don't have to do this," Jaemin said. "Yes, I do." She turned to face him. "Daniel's going to be there, in that hotel, and I need him to see what he created, not a scared girl he could manipulate, a woman who survived and became stronger than he could imagine." Jaemin crossed the room, cupped her face in both hands. "If something goes wrong, if we don't make it out, then we don't. But we go down fighting." He kissed her, hard, desperate, real, pouring every emotion he couldn't say into the contact. Kaylin kissed back just as fiercely, tasting fear and rage, and something that might have been love if they'd had more time. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Ready?" Jaemin asked. "No, but let's do it anyway." They descended to the garage where 3 black SUVs waited, engines running. Jin-ho's assault team was already loaded. 20 of Jaemin's best soldiers, armed for urban warfare. Kaylin climbed into the lead vehicle beside Jaemin. The convoy pulled out, heading toward the hotel where her nightmare had started, where it would end tonight, one way or another. The streets of Seoul blurred past. Midnight traffic was light. The city slept, unaware that war was coming to its gleaming heart. At 11:55 p.m., they pulled up 3 blocks from the hotel, close enough to respond, far enough to avoid detection. Hyman's phone buzzed, a message from Victor. 5 minutes. Come alone or she dies screaming. "Last chance to change your mind," Jin-ho said. Jaemin looked at Kaylin. She nodded. "We go together," Jaemin said. "On my signal, you breach, but give me time to reach Mrs. Shin first." Understood, sir. Jamin and Kaylin exited the vehicle, started walking toward the hotel entrance. Every step felt like walking toward execution. The lobby was empty. Too empty. Like someone had cleared it deliberately. Their footsteps echoed on marble as they crossed to the elevator. He knows we're not alone, Kaylin whispered. Of course he knows, but he's arrogant. Thinks he has the superior position. Does he? We're about to find out. The elevator climbed toward the penthouse. Kaylin's heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Beside her, Jaemin was perfectly still, perfectly controlled, but she could see the tension in his jaw. The elevator dinged, doors opened. The penthouse had been rebuilt since the night Jaemin destroyed it. New windows, new furniture. Like the violence had never happened. Victor Huang waited in the center of the room, fully healed now, though he leaned on a cane from where Jaemin had shot his knee. Around him stood at least 15 armed men, and kneeling on the floor, gagged and bound, was Mrs. Shin. She was alive. Terrified, but alive. Right on time, Victor said, smiling. I appreciate punctuality. Then Daniel stepped out from behind a pillar, and Kaylin's blood turned to ice, because he was holding a gun, and it was pointed directly at. The gun in Daniel's hand looked enormous. Black metal catching the penthouse lights, barrel steady despite the tremor Kaylin could see running through his arms. He wasn't a killer, not naturally, but desperation made monsters of ordinary men. Put it down, Jaemin said quietly. Not a request, a command. Daniel's laugh came out strangled. You don't give orders here anymore, Victor does. Victor Huang shifted his weight on the cane, wincing slightly. The knee Jaemin had destroyed would never fully heal. Good. Kaylin hoped it hurt every single day for the rest of his miserable life. Such loyalty, Victor said, gesturing at Daniel. Your ex-fiancé has been quite useful. Told me everything about your security systems, your response protocols, even the lovely detail that you sleep in separate rooms. His smile turned predatory. Contract marriage. How modern. How convenient. Let Mrs. Shin go, Jaemin said. Your issue is with me. My issue is with both of you. You shot me, left me bleeding on this very floor, and your wife? Victor's gaze slid to Kaylin, hot and possessive. She cost me $2 million and considerable reputation damage. So no, I don't think I'll let anyone go. I think I'll take what I'm owed. Mrs. Shin made a muffled sound behind her gag. Her eyes were wide with terror, tears streaming down her face. Kaylin's hands clenched into fists so tight, her nails drew blood from her palms. What do you want? Kaylin asked, her voice steadier than she felt. What I wanted 3 weeks ago. You. One night. Then we're even. Never gonna happen. Oh, I think it will. Victor nodded to Daniel. Show them. Daniel pulled out his phone, tapped something, then turned the screen toward them. Live video feed, a room Kaylin didn't recognize, and inside it, her breath stopped. 3 women, tied to chairs, gagged like Mrs. Shin. One of them was Seo Yoon, Jaemin's intelligence officer. The other 2 looked like civilians, maybe family members of Jaemin's lieutenants. Insurance, Victor explained, in case you brought backup. Which, he glanced at his watch. I'm assuming you did. Your people are probably positioned within 3 blocks right now. Jin Ho leading the assault team, I'd guess. Former military, very predictable tactics. Jaemin's expression didn't change, but Kaylin felt him tense beside her. Here's what happens next, Victor continued. You tell your team to stand down. Then you, Jaemin, kneel in the center of this room while I decide whether to shoot you in the head or let you watch me finish what I started with Kaylin. Either way, you lose. Either way, you pay. And if I refuse? Then Daniel makes a phone call. My people execute all 3 women. Then we move on to the next 3, and the next. I can do this all night. How many people are you willing to sacrifice for pride? The question hung in the air like poison gas. Kaylin watched Jaemin's face, saw the calculation running behind his eyes. Cold math, acceptable losses, the brutal arithmetic of survival. Don't, she whispered. Don't give him what he wants. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not one where you survive. Jaemin reached for his phone, and Kaylin's world tilted sideways. He was going to surrender, going to kneel, going to let Victor win because of her. The realization hit like a physical blow. She'd become his weakness, the vulnerability he'd spent a lifetime avoiding. And now Victor was going to use that weakness to destroy him, unless she acted first. "Wait," Kaylin said loudly. All eyes turned to her. "I'll do it. I'll go with Victor. One night, like the original deal. In exchange, you let everyone else go. Jamin, Mrs. Shin, the hostages, all of them, unharmed." "Kaylin, no," Jamin started. "Yes." She looked at Victor. "That's what you really want, isn't it? Not revenge, not violence. You want to win. You want to prove you're more powerful than him. So prove it. Take me. Let them go. Show Soul that Victor Huang always collects his debts." Victor studied her, eyes calculating. Behind him, his men shifted, waiting for orders. Daniel's gun hand wavered. "You'd really do that?" Victor asked. "Sacrifice yourself? To save them? Yes. How noble. How tragically stupid." But Kaylin could see him considering it. The ego play was working. Men like Victor needed to win publicly, needed everyone to know they couldn't be beaten. "She's not going anywhere with you," Jamin said flatly. "It's not your decision." Kaylin turned to face him fully. "You've protected me enough. Time I protected you. By letting that animal, by being smart, strategic. Wasn't that what you said? Do whatever it takes to survive?" She softened her voice. "Let me do this. Please." Jamin's jaw clenched so hard she heard teeth grinding. His hand moved toward his concealed weapon. She knew he had one, probably several, despite Victor's demands to come unarmed. "Don't," she whispered. "You draw that gun, everyone dies. We both know it. I won't let him touch you. You might not have a choice." The moment stretched taut as a wire. Then Victor laughed, delighted by the drama. "This is better than I imagined. The great Jaimin Kwan brought to his knees by a woman he's known 3 weeks. Daniel, you were right. Marriage made him soft." Daniel's smile was toxic. "Told you, emotional attachment is a disease." "Shut up," Kaylin spat. "You don't get to talk. You don't get to have opinions about love when you've never felt anything real in your pathetic life. I felt satisfaction when I sold you. Does that count?" The words should have hurt. Instead, they clarified everything. Daniel was hollow, a shell of a human being animated by greed and ego. He'd never loved her because he was incapable of love. Understanding that made her stronger. "So," Victor prompted, "do we have a deal? Kaylin for everyone else?" "No deal," Jamin said. "Yes, deal," Kaylin countered. "Kaylin, I'm not asking permission." She looked at Victor. "But I have conditions." "You're not in a position to negotiate?" "Actually, I am. Because if you want me to cooperate, really cooperate, not just fight you every second, then you'll agree to terms. Otherwise, you'll have to drag me kicking and screaming, and where's the victory in that?" Victor tilted his head, intrigued. "What conditions?" "Everyone walks out of here. Jaimin, Mrs. Shin, the hostages, his entire team. No one gets hurt, no one gets followed. Clean exit." "And in exchange?" "One night, like the original agreement. I'll go with you. I won't fight. I won't try to escape." The words tasted like poison. "But it happened somewhere else, not here, not in front of him." She couldn't look at Jaimin, couldn't see the expression on his face. "Interesting," Victor mused. "You'd really let me have you to save your husband?" "He's not—" Kaylin stopped. Because legally, Jaimin was her husband. And somewhere in the past 3 weeks, the contract had become something else, something real. "Yes, I would." "This is insane," Jamin said. His voice had gone dead, hollow. "You're not doing this." "Watch me." Victor nodded slowly. "All right, I accept your terms. We'll conduct business at my private estate in Busan. Tonight. And your husband and his people will have exactly 1 hour to leave Seoul before I change my mind and kill everyone anyway." "How do I know you'll keep your word?" Kaylin asked. "You don't. But what choice do you have?" None. She had no choice, just like that night 3 weeks ago when Daniel had locked the door. Except this time, she was choosing, actively, deliberately, taking control of her own destruction to save the people she'd come to care about. "Fine," she said. Let's do this. No. Jamin grabbed her arm, spun her to face him. His eyes were wild, desperate, completely unlike the controlled man she'd married. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me. I won't survive it. You will. You're stronger than this. I'm not. Not without... He stopped, jaw working. Don't make me lose you, please. The pleas broke her heart. Jamin Kwan didn't beg, didn't plead, didn't show weakness, but here he was, completely undone by the thought of losing her. You won't lose me, she lied. I'll survive. I'll come back. You don't know that. Neither do you. She reached up, cupped his face. But I know this. If we fight now, everyone dies. Your people. Mine. All of it. So I'm choosing differently. I'm choosing to save you. I didn't ask you to save me. Too bad. That's what wives do. She kissed him, hard, pouring everything she couldn't say into the contact. Goodbye. I love you. Forgive me. All the words trapped in her throat because saying them would make them real. When she pulled back, his eyes were wet. I will burn this entire city to get you back, he whispered. I know. I will kill everyone who touches you. I know that too. Touching, Victor interrupted, but we're wasting time. Kaylin, come here. Daniel, make sure our guests behave while we arrange transport. Kaylin forced herself to walk toward Victor. Every step felt like wading through concrete. Behind her, she heard Jamin's ragged breathing, the sound of a man being torn apart. Victor's hand closed around her wrist. His grip was iron, painful, possessive. Smart choice, he murmured. Much smarter than fighting. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for them. Motivation doesn't matter. Results do. And I always get results. He started pulling her toward a side door. Kaylin glanced back one last time, met Jamin's eyes across the room, tried to memorize his face, the sharp angles, the cold control finally shattered. The man beneath the monster. Then gunfire erupted from the hallway. The door exploded inward in a shower of splintered wood. Jinho came through first, assault rifle already firing. Victor's men scattered, returning fire. The penthouse dissolved into chaos, smoke, screams, the deafening thunder of automatic weapons in enclosed space. Victor yanked Kaylin against his chest, using her as a shield. She felt the cold metal of his gun press against her temple. Call them off, Victor shouted over the gunfire. Call them off or she dies right now. Jamin had drawn his weapon, firing with mechanical precision. 2 of Victor's men went down, 3, 4. He moved like a machine built for killing, every shot finding its target, but he froze when he saw the gun against Kaylin's head. Stand down, he roared at his team. Weapons down! The shooting stopped. Smoke hung in the air, bodies littered the floor, Victor's men mostly, but at least one of Jamin's soldiers had taken a bullet. Daniel had disappeared during the chaos, coward to the end. You broke the rules, Victor hissed. You brought your army. You kidnapped my people. The rules were broken the moment you took Mrs. Shin. Then everyone dies. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger, starting with... Kaylin drove her elbow backward into his wounded knee. Victor screamed. His grip loosened. The gun wavered away from her head. She threw herself sideways as Jamin fired. The bullet caught Victor in the shoulder, spinning him around. He collapsed against the wall, bleeding, but not dead. Not yet. Kaylin scrambled toward Jamin as his team rushed forward, securing the room, zip-tying Victor's surviving men. Someone cut Mrs. Shin free. She collapsed into Jinho's arms, sobbing. Jamin caught Kaylin, pulled her against his chest so hard she couldn't breathe. Never again, he said into her hair. Never fucking again. I'm okay. You offered yourself to him. You were going to let him? I was buying time, hoping you had a plan. I had no plan. I was going to execute everyone in this room and burn the hotel down with me inside. His arms tightened. You can't do that to me. Can't make me choose between your life and everything else. Someone had to make the hard call. That's my job, not yours. Maybe we're partners now. Maybe we make hard calls together. He pulled back to look at her, and his eyes held something raw, unguarded, real. You're insane, he said. I married you, obviously. Almost laughter broke through his shock, but before either could say more, Jinho approached. Sir, we have a problem. Daniel Park escaped during the firefight. He's gone. Find him, Jamin ordered. Already tracking his phone, he's heading toward... Jinho checked his tablet, and his expression darkened. He's heading toward your compound. What? Left here 15 minutes ago. If he's moving fast, he could already be... Jamin's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, and Daniel's voice came through the speaker. Hi, Jamin. Enjoying your victory? Because I'm enjoying mine. I'm currently in your beautiful home. In your bedroom, actually. You have excellent taste in furniture. Get out of my house before I... Before you what? Come home and stop me? By all means, try. But you should know I've placed explosives throughout the compound. Insurance, you might say. If I don't send a specific code every 30 minutes, the whole place goes up. And there are still people here. Servants, guards, maybe a dozen in total. Kalen's blood turned to ice. He's bluffing. Am I? Check your security feeds. Jamin pulled up the compound cameras on his phone. Daniel was visible in multiple feeds, moving through the house with what looked like military-grade explosives, wiring them to structural supports, setting timers. He wasn't bluffing. What do you want? Jamin asked, voice deadly calm. What I've always wanted. Money. $4 million. Transfer it to the account I'm sending you now, or everyone in this compound dies. You have 15 minutes. Even if I agree, it'll take longer than that to move that much money. Then I suggest you work fast. Daniel's laugh was unhinged. And Jamin? Don't try to come here. I've set up cameras on every approach. The moment I see your vehicles, I detonate. Everyone dies, so stay exactly where you are and pay what you owe. The call ended. The penthouse went silent except for heavy breathing and the muffled groans of wounded men. He's cornered, Jinho said. Desperate, which makes him unpredictable. Can we evacuate the compound? Kalen asked. Not in 15 minutes. Not without him seeing movement on the cameras and detonating early. Jamin's mind was racing, visible in the intensity of his stare. We have to assume he'll kill everyone, regardless of whether we pay. So what do? We call his bluff. You just said he's not bluffing. About the explosives, but he's bluffing about staying. He's not suicidal. The moment he gets the money, he'll run, which means there's a window, small, maybe seconds, where he's distracted, focused on his escape instead of the detonator. That's a huge gamble, Jinho said. It's all we have. Jamin started giving orders rapid fire. Seo-yoon, if you're still alive at the other location, respond. His phone buzzed. Text message. Alive. Hostages secured. What do you need? Get to my compound. Approach from the south through the drainage tunnels. Daniel won't have cameras down there. You have 14 minutes to find and disarm his explosives. Boss, that's impossible. Then do the impossible. Jinho, transfer the money. Make it look real. I want him to believe he's won. Kalen. He turned to her. You're staying here. Like hell I am. This isn't negotiable. Neither am I. That's my home too now. And Daniel used me for this entire nightmare. I'm seeing it through to the end. They stared at each other. Two stubborn people who'd survived too much to back down now. Fine, Jamin finally said. But you stay behind me. You do exactly what I say. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood. They left Victor bleeding on the penthouse floor. Jinho would arrange cleanup later, and raced for the vehicles. The drive to the compound took 8 minutes that felt like hours. Every second, Kalen imagined the explosion. Bodies torn apart. The home she'd just started to think of as safe, destroyed. 3 blocks out, Jamin pulled over. We walk from here. Daniel's watching the roads. They moved through this darkness on foot, staying off main streets. Jamin's phone showed the countdown. 6 minutes until Daniel's deadline. 4 minutes. 2. Jinho confirmed the money transfer went through. Daniel's voice came over Jamin's phone via speaker. Received. Pleasure doing business. Oh, and Jamin? Consider this payback for stealing my fiancé. She was never yours. She was mine first. You gave up that right when you sold her. I gave up nothing. I made a business decision, just like you're about to make one. Do you chase me or do you try to save your people? You can't do both. Choose wisely. The call ended. 1 minute left. They reached the compound walls, scaled them using equipment Jinho had pre-positioned, dropped into the garden where Kalen had walked with Mrs. Shin days ago. back when life seemed manageable. The house stood dark and silent. Seoyun, report, Jaemin whispered into his comm. Static? Then, found 4 devices, disarming now, but there's at least one more. I can't locate it. How long until deadline? 30 seconds. Find it. I'm trying. 20 seconds. Jaemin grabbed Kaylin's hand. If this goes wrong, it won't. If it does, I need you to know what... Don't say goodbye. We're surviving this. 10 seconds. Seo-Yun's voice crackled. Found it. Dining room. Disarming. 5 seconds. Seo-Yun? 3 seconds. Seo-Yun, talk to me. 1 second. 0. Nothing happened. Silence. Then Seo-Yun's voice shaking. Disarmed. All clear. Repeat. All clear. Kaylin's knees gave out. Jaemin caught her, held her up as relief washed through them both. Where's Daniel? He asked into the comm. East exit. Moving fast. Wait. He's not alone. What? Someone's with him. Can't ID from here. They're getting into a vehicle, black sedan, no plates. They're escaping together. Follow them. I want to know where they go. I want to know who's helping him. I want everything. Copy that. Jaemin and Kaylin entered the house through a shattered window. Staff were emerging from hiding places, shaken but alive. Mrs. Shin appeared from the kitchen, threw her arms around both of them. I thought we were all dead, she sobbed. That boy, he was wiring bombs everywhere, laughing the whole time. He's gone now, Jaemin said gently. You're safe. But for how long? How long before someone else tries to kill us? How long before this war destroys everything? The question hung unanswered. In the master bedroom, Kaylin found evidence of Daniel's presence. Drawers opened, clothes scattered, her things violated. He'd been looking for something. Information, maybe? Leverage. Or maybe he just wanted to destroy one more piece of her old life. We can't keep living like this, she said when Jaemin joined her, constantly under attack, always waiting for the next threat. I know. So what do we do? Jaemin's expression hardened. We end it, permanently. No more half measures, no more mercy. Victor survives tonight, he'll come at us again. Daniel escapes, he'll sell information to our enemies. The Cho Syndicate is still out there, still funding operations against us, so we burn it all down. You're talking about war, real war. We're already at war, have been since the moment I kicked down that hotel door. Tonight, we stop pretending otherwise. He pulled out his phone, made a call. When he spoke, his voice carried absolute authority. This is Kwon Jae-min, Code Black. I'm calling in every favor, every debt, every alliance we've built over the past decade. Target is the Cho Syndicate and anyone allied with Victor Huang. We move at dawn. Total elimination. No survivors, no mercy. This ends now. He hung up, looked at Kaylin. Last chance to walk away. After tonight, there's no going back. I'm declaring open war on half of Seoul's underworld. It'll be bloody, brutal, and you'll be right in the middle of it as my wife. Kaylin thought about everything she'd survived. The betrayal, the violence, the transformation from naive marketing exec to a woman who could stand in penthouses while guns fired and not flinch. I'm not walking away, she said. I'm walking forward, with you, into whatever comes next. Even if it destroys us? Even then. Jaemin pulled her close, kissed her hard enough to bruise. When they broke apart, both were breathing like they'd run miles. Then we go to war, he said, together. Outside, Seoul glittered in the pre-dawn darkness. Somewhere in those streets, Daniel was running. Victor was bleeding. The Cho Syndicate was mobilizing. And Jaemin Kwon was about to teach them all what happened when you threatened his wife. The war was coming, and this time there would be no mercy, no survivors, only victory or death. Dawn broke over Seoul like a wound splitting open, red and raw across the horizon. Kaylin stood on the terrace of the compound, watching the city wake up, unaware that today would reshape its entire criminal infrastructure. Coffee steamed in her hands, but she hadn't touched it. Her mind was still trapped in the penthouse, feeling Victor's gun against her temple, hearing Daniel's laugh as he wired explosives through her home. She'd barely slept. Neither had Jaemin. He'd spent the night coordinating with his network, calling in decades of accumulated leverage. By 4 a.m., he had commitments from 3 rival syndicates who'd agreed to stay neutral during the coming purge. By 5 a.m., corrupt police officials had promised delayed response times to specific addresses. By 6 a.m., every major player in Seoul's underworld knew that Kwon Jae-min was moving against the Cho syndicate with absolute finality. "You should eat something." Mrs. Shin appeared beside her, face still pale from last night's trauma, but determined to maintain normalcy through routine. "Big day ahead. I can't. My stomach won't take it." Fear is natural before battle. Is that what this is? Battle? It's whatever Mr. Kwon decides it is. And he's decided it's war. Mrs. Shin touched her shoulder gently. "But wars end. And when this one does, you'll still be standing. I've seen it in you since the first night. You're a survivor." Kaylin wanted to believe that, wanted to feel the certainty Mrs. Shin projected, but all she felt was exhaustion and a gnawing dread that today would cost more than anyone was prepared to pay. Jaemin found her an hour later. He'd changed into black tactical gear, weapons strapped to his body with practiced efficiency. But his eyes found hers first, before checking equipment or reviewing plans. "Last chance," he said quietly. "I can have you on a plane within 30 minutes. Tokyo, Singapore, anywhere you want. You'd be safe." "We've been through this." "I know, but I'm asking again because once this starts, I can't protect you from all of it. Things will happen today that you can't unsee. People will die. Some of them might even be people you've met, people who work for me. And I need you to understand that I'm about to become the monster everyone thinks I am." Kaylin set down her coffee cup, crossed the distance between them, placed her hands on his chest, feeling the Kevlar vest beneath the tactical gear, the rapid heartbeat underneath. "You've always been that monster," she said. "You just hid it better. And I'm not afraid of monsters anymore. I married one. I'm learning to be one. You're not." "I offered myself to Victor last night, tried to trade my body for hostages. That's not something the old Kaylin would have done. The old me would have frozen, cried, waited for someone else to save her." She held his gaze. "But she died in that hotel 3 weeks ago. The woman standing here now, she's someone different, someone harder, and she's not leaving you to fight alone." Jaemin's hand came up to cup her face. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, the gesture achingly tender from a man about to orchestrate mass violence. "When this is over, if we survive, we need to talk about what we actually are. This marriage, this partnership. Because it stopped being a contract somewhere along the way, and I don't know what to call it now. We'll figure it out after." Afters. He kissed her. Not desperate like last night, but slow, deliberate, real. Tasting like goodbye even though neither would admit it. Then his phone buzzed. The moment shattered. "They found Daniel," Jin-ho reported over the comm. "He's holed up in a warehouse in Incheon with Victor Huang and approximately 30 Cho syndicate soldiers. They're fortified, armed, preparing for a siege." Jaemin's expression went cold. Professional. "How good is your intel?" "Solid. We have a man inside, low-level Cho operative, who owes us. He says Victor's using Daniel as a strategic advisor, teaching them our protocols, our weaknesses. They're planning a coordinated strike against all your business holdings simultaneously. Burn everything down while you're distracted." "When?" "Noon. They're waiting for maximum chaos. Lunch hour crowds, hard to control collateral damage." Jaemin checked his watch. "That gives us 5 hours. Good. We move in 3. I want overwhelming force. I want this over fast and clean. Sir, if we're going in that heavy, we should notify no one. The more people who know, the more chances for leaks. We use our core team. 85 men. That's enough. Against 30 Cho soldiers and whoever Victor hired as backup? It'll be tight. Then we better shoot straight." 2 hours later, Kaylin sat in the back of an armored SUV, watching Seoul's industrial district roll past. Jaemin had tried one last time to make her stay behind. She'd ignored him, climbed into the vehicle, strapped on the Kevlar vest Jin-ho provided, checked the handgun Jaemin had taught her to use during their crash course in self-defense. "You know how to use that?" Jin-ho asked from the driver's seat. "Point and shoot. Not complicated. Shooting targets in a controlled range is different from shooting people who are shooting back." "Then I guess I'll learn fast," he grunted. You're either very brave or very stupid. Can it be both? Almost laughter. You're good for him. The boss. I've worked for Mr. Kwan for 8 years. Never seen him like this. Unbalanced, emotional, vulnerable. Is that bad? Depends on whether it gets him killed. Jinho glanced at her in the rearview mirror. But between you and me, it's made him more human, and humans fight harder than machines when they have something worth protecting. The convoy, 12 vehicles carrying Jaemin's entire combat-ready force, rolled through Incheon's warehouse district. Empty streets, abandoned buildings. The perfect place for a war nobody wanted witnesses to see. They stopped 3 blocks from the target. Soldiers deployed with practiced silence, checking weapons, syncing communications, preparing for violence like athletes warming up for competition. Jaemin gathered his team leaders. Primary objective, Victor Huang and Daniel Park. Alive if possible. Dead if necessary. Secondary objective, dismantle the Cho presence here completely. No one walks away to regroup. Understood? Affirmatives all around. Kaylin stays in the vehicle with 2 guards. If things go wrong, you get her out. That's not a request. That's an order. The guards nodded. Kaylin started to protest, then stopped. Pick your battles. This wasn't worth fighting over. Jaemin approached her one last time. Stay here. Stay safe. I'm coming back. You better. If I don't finish that sentence. You're coming back. We have things to figure out, remember? He smiled. Rare. Genuine. Yeah, we do. Then he was gone, moving with his team toward the warehouse complex like shadows bleeding into shadows. Kaylin watched through the SUV's reinforced windows as they approached, saw them split into assault teams, saw the first breaching charges go off, blowing doors inward with controlled explosions, heard the gunfire start. It was nothing like movies made it seem. No dramatic music, no slow motion, just the rapid hammering of automatic weapons, punctuated by shouted commands and screams. Smoke billowed from the warehouse. Glass shattered. Something inside exploded, sending flames licking toward the sky. We should pull back, one of her guards said nervously. Get distance between us and... The rear window exploded. Kaylin threw herself sideways as bullets punched through the vehicle. Both guards returned fire, but one took a round to the throat, collapsing across the console. The other kept shooting, cursing in Korean, blood spraying across the dashboard. Outside, figures moved through the smoke. Not Jae-min's team. Different uniforms. Cho Syndicate reinforcements. They'd been ambushed. The intelligence had been wrong, or deliberately false. The remaining guard grabbed Kaylin's arm. Run! Go now! What about... I'll cover you. Move! She moved, kicked open the door, stumbled into smoke and chaos. Behind her, the guard's weapon barked 3 times before going silent. She didn't look back, couldn't afford to. The warehouse complex was a maze. Storage units, shipping containers, narrow alleys between buildings. Kaylin ran without direction, just trying to put distance between herself and the killing ground. She rounded a corner and slammed into someone. Daniel. He looked terrible. Hollow-eyed. Manic. Blood on his clothes that might or might not be his own. And the gun in his hand was shaking, but aimed directly at her chest. Kaylin. Her name sounded wrong in his mouth. Familiar, but poisoned. This is perfect. Poetic, even. Everything comes full circle. Let me go, Daniel. Why would I do that? You're the reason I'm here, the reason everything fell apart. If you'd just done what you were supposed to that first night, just let Victor have his way, none of this would have happened. You sold me. Don't pretend this is my fault. I made a business decision, and you ruined it by being difficult, by fighting back, by making Jaemin fucking Kwan fall in love with you. He laughed, the sound unhinged. Do you know what that's worth? A crime lord's love. I could have sold that for 10 million. 20. But you had to actually care about him. Make it real. Complicate everything. Kaylin's hand moved slowly toward the gun at her hip. Where's Victor? Inside. Bleeding out, probably. Your husband shot him 3 times. Very thorough, very professional. But Victor got a few shots off, too. Think one caught Jaemin in the shoulder. Hard to tell with all the smoke. Her blood turned to ice. If you're lying, why would I lie? Everything's already destroyed. My company, my future, my life. All because I chose the wrong merchandise. He gestured with the gun. Turn around. Walk back toward the warehouse. We're going to find your husband. Watch him bleed. And then I'm going to shoot you both and finally get something out of this nightmare. You won't. Won't I? I've got nothing left to lose, Kaylin. That makes me very dangerous. No, it makes you pathetic. She drew her weapon and fired. The shot went wide. Her hands were shaking, adrenaline making her clumsy. But it was close enough to make Daniel dive for cover. Kaylin ran, hearing him scramble after her, cursing. Another shot, this one closer. Concrete exploded near her feet. She ducked behind a shipping container, breathing hard, trying to remember Jamin's training. Breathe, aim, squeeze, don't pull. Simple mechanics of violence. Daniel's voice echoed through the maze. You can't hide forever. I know you're not a killer. You're too soft, too weak. That's why I picked you in the first place. Kaylin leaned around the container, saw his shadow moving between buildings. Aimed, fired twice. One shot missed. The second caught him in the leg. Daniel screamed, went down hard. His gun clattered across pavement. Kaylin approached slowly, weapon trained on him, watching for tricks. But there were no tricks. Just a man clutching his bleeding thigh, crying, everything he'd built collapsing around him. You shot me, he gasped. You actually shot me. Yeah, I did. I loved you, I really did at the beginning. Before I realized you were just another asset to exploit. That's not love. That's never been love. Then what is? Tell me. What's love supposed to look like? Kaylin thought about Jamin holding her while she cried, teaching her to defend herself, offering her freedom even when it meant losing her, willing to die rather than let Victor touch her. It looks like sacrifice, she said quietly. Real sacrifice. Not selling someone. Protecting them. How sentimental. The new voice came from behind her. Victor Huang, leaning against a wall, bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds, but somehow still standing, still holding a weapon. Drop the gun, Kaylin, or I shoot your ex-fiancé in the head. I know you're too good to let that happen. She turned slowly. Victor looked like death walking, pale, sweating, probably minutes from bleeding out. But his aim was steady. He betrayed me too, Victor continued. Fed me false intelligence about Jamin's response times. Cost me 15 men. So I'm going to kill him. But I wanted you to watch first. Wanted you to understand that everyone you care about dies because of choices you made. I don't care about Daniel. No? Then this will be easy. Victor aimed at Daniel's head. Daniel screamed. Kaylin's finger tightened on her trigger. Jamin appeared from the smoke like vengeance incarnate. Blood soaked his left shoulder, but his right arm was steady. He fired once. Victor's head snapped back. He collapsed without another word, dead before hitting the ground. Silence fell over the warehouse complex. The gunfire had stopped. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Real police or ones Jamin had paid to arrive late, Kaylin couldn't tell. Jamin lowered his weapon, walked toward her with controlled urgency, scanning for threats. When he reached her, his hand touched her face, checking for injuries. You're bleeding, he said. Not my blood. Yours? Flesh wound. I've had worse. His eyes found Daniel, still clutching his leg, whimpering. You shot him. He was going to kill me. Us. Good. You're learning. Jamin looked at Daniel with absolute contempt. I should execute you right here. End this cleanly. But I gave Kaylin my word. No quick death. You get consequences. What does that mean? Daniel managed through pain. It means I'm giving you to the Cho Syndicate. What's left of them. And I'm letting them know you fed me intelligence that got their soldiers killed. They're very creative with traitors. You'll wish I'd shot you. You can't. I already did. They're collecting you in 10 minutes. Enjoy your last moments of sunlight. Jinho appeared with 4 soldiers. Compound is secure. 32 Cho operatives neutralized. 17 captured. 6 of ours wounded. 2 dead. We won, sir. Casualties? Kim and Park, good men. They died covering the west entrance. Jamin's jaw tightened. Make sure their families are taken care of. Full benefits. College funds for the kids. Already arranged. They left Daniel bleeding on the pavement. Kaylin didn't look back. Whatever happened to him now, he'd earned every second of it. The convoy limped back to Seoul as afternoon sun painted the city gold. Kaylin rode beside Jamin while a medic worked on his shoulder wound, stitching torn flesh with practiced efficiency. He didn't flinch, barely seemed to notice the pain. "It's over," she said, not quite believing it. "This part is. Victor's dead. Daniel's neutralized. The Cho syndicate is broken. But there will be others. There always are. Power vacuums get filled. Then we deal with them too." "We? I'm not going anywhere. We established this." Jamin caught her hand, squeezed. "I watched you shoot Daniel, watched you survive an ambush, fight back instead of freezing. You've become someone I barely recognize from that terrified woman in the hotel." "Good. I hated that woman. She was weak. She was human. Vulnerable. Nothing wrong with that. There's everything wrong with it in your world. Our world now, I guess." The medic finished stitching, packed up his supplies, left them alone in the back of the vehicle. "Kaylin," Jamin's voice was serious, heavy. "I need to tell you something. About the night I saved you. About why I was there. You said you had business with Victor. I lied. Or I told you half the truth." He looked out the window, couldn't meet her eyes. "I was there because I'd been tracking Victor for months. He'd trafficked women before, sold them to buyers across Asia, and 3 years ago, one of those women was someone I cared about, someone I was supposed to protect. You mentioned her, the woman you couldn't save. Her name was Min Seo. She was my father's ward, basically my sister, though not by blood. When she turned 18, she started dating someone my father warned her about, a businessman with connections to people like Victor. She didn't listen, thought she knew better. And one night, her boyfriend sold her exactly like Daniel sold you." Kaylin's breath caught. "What happened?" "By the time I found her, she'd been sold 3 times, passed between buyers like merchandise. She was broken, traumatized beyond repair. I got her out, put her in the best facilities money could buy. But she never recovered, never forgave herself for trusting the wrong person. 6 months later, she took her own life." "Jamin, I'm so... I was tracking Victor because he was connected to Min Seo's original buyer, building a case, planning to destroy him. And that night, I got a tip that he was making another transaction at that hotel. I went expecting to gather intelligence. Instead, I found you." His hand tightened on hers. "And for a second I saw Min Seo, saw another woman being betrayed by someone she loved, and I knew I couldn't be too late again. I couldn't let history repeat. So you saved me. I saved myself, my conscience, my guilt." He finally looked at her. "That's the real reason for this marriage. Not politics, not strategy. I needed you to survive because if you didn't, it meant Min Seo's death was meaningless. It meant I'd failed twice." The honesty gutted her. All this time she'd thought he was protecting her, but really, he was protecting the memory of someone he'd loved and lost. "Does that change things?" he asked quietly. "Knowing you were a stand-in for someone else?" Kaylin thought about it, really thought, and found that it didn't hurt like it should have. "No," she said, "because whatever your reasons for saving me were, what happened after was real. The way you taught me to fight, the way you looked at me like I mattered, the way you were willing to surrender to Victor last night to keep me safe. That wasn't about Min Seo. That was about us. Was it? Or am I just repeating patterns, trying to save you because I couldn't save her? Maybe it started that way, but it's not that anymore. We're not characters in someone else's story. We're writing our own now." Jamin pulled her close, careful of his injured shoulder. "I don't know how to do this. Real relationships, honest ones. I've spent so long being strategic about everything. Then we figure it out together. No more lies, no more half-truths, just 2 broken people trying to build something that isn't broken. You're not broken. Neither are you. We're just survivors, and survivors adapt." The convoy reached the compound, a sunset-painted soul in shades of amber and rose. Staff came out to meet them, relieved faces, tears, the raw emotion of people who'd thought they might not see morning. Mrs. Shin hugged them both so hard Jamin's stitches probably tore. "It's over, really over." "For now," Jamin said. "For now, we're safe." That night the house felt different, lighter. Like something poisonous had been burned away, leaving clean air behind. Kaylin showered, washing off smoke and blood and the residue of violence. Changed into comfortable clothes. Found Jaemin on the terrace where she'd stood that morning, a lifetime ago. Can't sleep? She asked. Thinking. About? What comes next? Victor's dead, Daniel's gone. The Cho Syndicate is dismantled. I've effectively eliminated my major opposition in Seoul, which means the underground will reorganize around me. More power, more responsibility, more targets on our backs. So we prepare, build better defenses, stay ahead of threats. Or we walk away. Kaylin blinked. What? I have enough money to disappear. New identities, new lives. We could leave Seoul, leave Korea. Go somewhere nobody knows us and start over. He looked at her. Would you want that? A normal life? Is there such a thing as normal anymore? Probably not, but we could try. She leaned against the railing, watching the city lights. A month ago, I would have said yes immediately, would have run as far and fast as possible from anything resembling danger. But now? She shook her head. I don't think I could go back. I've seen too much, changed too much. And honestly, I like who I've become. Harder, stronger, dangerous. You shot a man today. I know, and I should feel guilty, traumatized, but all I feel is satisfied. He tried to kill me, and I stopped him. That's not weakness. That's survival. Jae-min smiled, real, warm, unguarded. You've gone completely to the dark side. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just accepting reality. Your world isn't going anywhere. Someone has to run it. Might as well be us, doing it better than the monsters who came before. Us? You heard me? I'm not just your wife for appearances anymore. I want in, really in. Teach me the business. Let me contribute. Let me be a partner, not just protected cargo. That's dangerous. Everything about this life is dangerous. Might as well be dangerous together. He pulled her close, kissed her properly, deeply, without the shadow of death hanging over them. Just two people choosing each other despite everything. All right, he said when they broke apart. Partners, equal. But that means you train properly. Self-defense, weapons, strategy. If you're in this, you're in completely. Deal. When do we start? Tomorrow. Tonight we rest. And maybe figure out what our marriage actually is now that it's not just a contract. They went inside, climbed the stairs to the master suite. The separate sleeping arrangements felt absurd suddenly. Artificial barriers that no longer served any purpose. I'm not sleeping in the sitting room tonight, Jaemin said. Good, because I'm not sleeping alone. They fell into bed together, exhausted and wired, talking until words blurred into comfortable silence. Kaylin's head rested on Jaemin's chest, listening to his heartbeat slow, feeling his breathing even out. This was home. Not the compound, not the city, but this man. This partnership forged in violence and trauma and unexpected connection. Kaylin? I think I love you. I'm not sure because I've never really felt it before. But this, he gestured vaguely, encompassing everything. This feels like what people describe. Terror and comfort simultaneously, wanting to protect and be protected, caring more about your survival than my own. She propped herself up to look at him. I think I love you too, which is insane. We've known each other 3 weeks. We got married as a strategic move. This should not have become real. But it did. But it did. She kissed him softly. So what do we do about it? We keep surviving, keep fighting, keep building whatever this is until it's strong enough to withstand anything. That's the plan. That's the plan. They slept tangled together, and for the first time since her world had exploded, Kaylin didn't dream of hotels or betrayal. She dreamed of the future, uncertain but theirs to shape. Weeks became months. Kaylin trained with Jaemin's security team, learning combat techniques that transformed her body into a weapon. She studied the business, legitimate and otherwise, understanding the complex web of connections that kept the Quan Empire functional. And slowly, she became something new. Not a victim. Not even just a survivor, but a power in her own right. Seoul's underground noticed. Whispers spread about Jaemin's foreign wife, who was more than decoration. The woman who'd shot Daniel Park, who'd stared down Victor Huang, who stood beside the king and made him stronger rather than weaker. They held a second wedding 6 months after the first. Not a contractual arrangement this time. An actual ceremony with people they cared about watching. Mrs. Shin cried through the entire event. Jinho gave an embarrassing toast about how love made even crime lords stupid, and when Jaemin kissed his bride, it was without hesitation or performance, just pure, unguarded emotion. A year passed. The Kwan Empire evolved. Jaemin started transitioning legitimate businesses to the forefront, slowly phasing out the more violent operations. Not because he'd gone soft, but because strength didn't always require bloodshed. Kaylin launched her own venture, a high-end security consulting firm that helped women in dangerous situations extract themselves safely. Legal, ethical, but backed by resources that made it genuinely effective. She hired survivors, trained them, turned trauma into expertise. And late at night, when Seoul slept, she and Jaemin would stand on that same terrace where so many conversations had happened, watching the city, planning the future, existing in a space they'd carved from chaos. "Do you regret any of it?" Jaemin asked one evening. "That first night? Everything after?" Kaylin considered the question seriously, thought about the terror, the betrayal, the violence, the transformation. "No," she said finally. "The worst night of my life freed me, destroyed everything I thought I was, and forced me to become someone stronger, someone real. And it gave me you. So no, I don't regret it. Even knowing what it cost? Especially knowing what it cost. Easy paths don't build character. They just maintain comfort. And I was comfortable before. Safe. Bored. Now I'm dangerous, powerful, alive in ways I never was." "You're extraordinary," Jaemin said quietly. "You know that? I'm a woman who survived being sold and decided to build an empire with the man who saved her. That's not extraordinary, that's practical." He laughed. Genuine, warm, practical. "Only you would describe our life as practical." "Well, what would you call it?" "Miraculous. Unlikely. Impossible." He pulled her close. "Mine." "Ours," she corrected. "Ours," he agreed. They kissed as Seoul glittered below them, a city of millions living ordinary lives while they stood above it all. Two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances and somehow built something worth keeping. The past couldn't be changed. Daniel had vanished into whatever hell the Cho Syndicate had designed for traitors. Victor was dead. The betrayals had happened, but the future stretched ahead, unwritten and full of possibility. Kaylin leaned into Jaemin's warmth and realized something fundamental. She was happy. Not content. Not merely surviving. Actually, genuinely happy in a life she never could have imagined. Sometimes the monsters who saved you became the person you needed to become. Sometimes contracts became love. Sometimes surviving meant thriving. And sometimes, rarely but truly, the worst moments of your life led directly to the best. Seoul's lights blurred into stars. The city breathed below them. And two survivors stood together, partners in every sense, watching the night and knowing that whatever came next, they'd face it the same way they'd faced everything else. Together. Unbreakable. Home.